Alright, what's going on, boys and girls? We're here with another reaction video to my two least favorite dumbasses of all times. So let's just roll into it. This is Windows versus Mac versus Linux video editing. Something tells me there's going to be a lot of fucking dumb. Let's find out, shall we?
Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Windows with MacOS. We're here, we're live. What's up, Plug?
Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to Windows versus macOS versus Linux. Today we're taking a look at video editing from all of these operating systems. Which one is the best if you are a video editor? Well, let's start diving in here. So obviously we are on macOS right now. And macOS, what editor does it come with?
So it comes with iMovie.
iMovie. All right, so one thing to note about iMovie on the macOS is it doesn't always natively come onto the machine.
That's true, I actually don't have it.
You will have to download it in the Mac App Store, but it is free and you can download it with ease in, like Trevor said, the Mac App Store.
It's right here.
It's a very capable editor. I mean, it's nothing super professional, but it's gonna get all your basic needs done and more. Regardless, what about Windows? Let's take a look at it. All right, so now that we are in Windows, let's open up Windows Movie. Oh.
There is no Windows Movie Maker.
There is no Windows Movie Maker. Back in, Windows XP, I guess Windows Vista, 7, whatever, we had Microsoft's Windows Movie Maker. And it was, somewhat comparable to iMovie, a little bit of a different UI and all of that, but it got your basic video editing needs done. Unfortunately, Microsoft seems to have discontinued Windows Movie Maker, or at least doesn't offer any support for it. I'm sure there are ways to get Movie Maker on Windows 10 if you desire it, but because it's not supported, it is not really going to be honorably mentioned. What about Linux though? So now in Ubuntu, let's take a look at the built-in video editor. There isn't one, is there?
Video edit.
No, unfortunately in Ubuntu, there is no video editor. Now, I already hear people screaming in the comments. Yes, there are some distros that do come with video editors. Unfortunately, it looks like Ubuntu is not one of them. Now, I do know Ubuntu has their Ubuntu Studio distro, and that does come with a couple video editors, which is great. But at the end of the day, none of these are, made by Ubuntu. These are all essentially third-party applications.
Yeah.
So there's no built-in editor. So moving on.
Wow. Okay, so there's no built-in editor. Didn't somebody just say their fucking Mac didn't have iMovie, which you tout as the end-all be-all for, entry-level video editing, you dumb motherfucker. So then we get into the other dude where we talk about Windows. Again, doesn't have a built-in video editor. Again, we get into Linux or Ubuntu. Doesn't have a built-in video editor. Are you seeing a fucking pattern here? Every OS you've used doesn't have a fucking built-in video editor. They might have ones available, but they're not built into the OS anymore, you dumbasses. So, I swear to God, the more I watch these guys, I cannot help but just laugh anymore instead of getting mad, because the level of sheer stupid is just astounding to me. Like, it's astronomically bad to me how stupid these guys are. Anyway, let's keep rolling into it and see if I can not get a fucking ulcer today.
What about other video editors? Like we said, macOS, you can get iMovie. It's an Apple app. Download it for free, fantastic. But again, what about other video editors? So, if you go into the Mac App Store, you will find Final Cut Pro X, which is Apple's professional grade video editor. It is a fantastic editor, one of the editors that we use here at our studio. However, you can also get like Adobe's Premiere Pro, which is another excellent video editor. And there's like Blackmagic's DaVinci Resolve that's supported, and there's a couple others. So that is awesome. All in all, macOS is doing really well in the video editing space with all of the main, high-end video editors, and they even have some good alternatives to, beginners that are getting into video editing with iMovie. However, what about Windows? Now, in Windows, in terms of other video editors, we still have Adobe Premiere Pro, even like Sony Vegas, which is actually only on Windows. That's not on Mac. So, on Mac, you have Final Cut Pro, which isn't available on Windows, but on Windows, you have Sony Vegas, which isn't available on Mac. And in all reality, Premiere Pro is one of the go-to editors in Windows ecosystem.
Yeah.
There also is, again, Blackmagic's DaVinci Resolve, which works pretty well on Windows 10. And there's, you go into, I guess, you're in the Mac,
Yeah,
you're in the App Store.
I was looking at the App Store. There are plenty of video editors, but I'm not going to say any of these are great by any means. But if you're just wanting to make a little home video, I'm sure there is something here for free.
But
that will work for you.
here's something actually good to mention about that. I mean, we mentioned that Movie Maker, Microsoft's Movie Maker, no longer really exists. It's not supported. But there seems to be probably a lot of alternatives to Movie Maker in Microsoft's App Store.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Which is good.
Here's one that's called Movie Maker and Video Editor, Slideshow Maker. According to this, it's almost $100, but it's free right now. Look, some of these things are gimmicky, there's no doubt about it. But at the same time, if you're just looking to make a little home movie, your son turned 5 and you want to make your little video of it, it's probably definitely doable, and this will do what you want to do.
Fantastic. Anyway, let's move on.
Are you looking for one produced from the company, specifically putting out the operating system? If you are, the only one that does it is fucking Apple. They do low end and high end. It's not fucking rocket science. I think you guys are fucking morons, personally. As far as other video editors available on specifically Windows, you have Corel's Video Studio, you have PowerDirector, you have Cyberlink, you have Magic, you have, as you said, Sony Vegas. There are a plethora of available Windows video editors. Some really powerful, some not so much. That, it all depends on what you need. Yet again, you guys are showing how fucking dumb you are. And I cannot help but laugh because it shows, especially in this. You guys use Macs, that's fine. You want to tout the fucking cult of Apple, the cult of Jobs, more power to you there, buddies. But at the end of the day, it really does boil down to, it's a video editor. If it's available across, if they're available on every platform, it doesn't matter. So it's a moot fucking point to me. I think getting stuck in the fucking ecosystem is stupid, personally. But anyway, let's roll into more of this video. See if I can't help but laugh, man. I'm telling you, I'm so astounded by the dumb.
To Linux. All right, so now that we are in Linux, let's take a look at the other editors that you can install, because Ubuntu doesn't have any editors. So we're in Ubuntu's App Store, and I guess Trevor's typing in video editor, and we have a couple. We have
for sure.
Some of the more popular ones that I know of are Shotcut, Kdenlive. Kdenlive is not bad by any means. OpenShot I see at the bottom.
Yeah.
So there definitely are a couple video editors. Unfortunately, if you have used any of those editors, none of them are really considered professional. They have the ability that, iMovie or even the old Movie Maker had. They're really not that advanced. Yeah, Kdenlive is probably one of the more advanced editors, but at the end of the day, it still struggles with some basic tasks when you're trying to add effects and whatnot. You're just gonna reach your limit really quickly. However, in terms of professional editing, Blackmagic does support Linux with their DaVinci Resolve. So there is a free version of DaVinci Resolve as well as a paid one, which is $300. And that is a good editor. It's been getting more and more popular more recently, and it could be a very viable option for you on Linux.
Yeah.
However, keep in mind, you don't really have any other professional video editing software. Unfortunately,
Wow. No other professional video editing software. Are you fucking that dumb to not do any fucking research? Lightworks much? Say what you want about it. It's been used to make plenty of movies. And I think you're a bunch of fucking dumbasses. You guys don't do any research in your... For a group of guys who talk about tech, you guys don't do any goddamn research. And part of your fucking job should be knowing a little bit about what you're talking about, which apparently you don't. So Lightworks, it's I think it's $25 a month. You can do an outright license. I think it's like 500, 400, somewhere in that neighborhood. It's plenty of ways. There's plenty of editors. You guys are just fucking idiots in this field. Worship at the cult of Apple, and that's fine. Stay in your fucking wheelhouse because you guys don't know shit.
Unfortunately, Adobe Premiere Pro does not work on Linux across the board. Don't even try to use Wine. It's not going to be a good experience. So that is a little bit unfortunate. At least you have DaVinci Resolve, but that might be your only option in terms of professional video editing. So now that we've talked about video editors, what's built in, as well as what you can get, we should talk about some codecs, specifically H.264, which is a very popular...
Oh hey, Codecs, you mean the thing you guys are too stupid to know how to fucking install?
Codec for filming on your camera. It is a good ratio between compression as well as, managing your files and retaining the quality, so on and so forth. Unfortunately, Linux does not have support out of the box for H.264. So if you have an H.264 file that you're trying to edit or view, sometimes you're gonna have some issues. However, on Mac, on Windows, you don't really have...
Now, aren't these the same guys and the same dumb motherfuckers who essentially, in the last video that I did not react to because I kind of want to keep my brain sane, these all kind of run together at this fucking point because the amount of stupid just kind of flows into one and into the next. Anyway, one of these fucking videos that they did, they're talking about codec support. Well, codecs aren't, because of the nature of codecs, that's the way they are. You can get H.264 for fucking Linux. You dumb motherfuckers. Yeah, again. Holy crap. Level of dumb.
Those problems. Now, if you want to take professional video editing here, just quickly, with DaVinci Resolve, if you want the free version of DaVinci Resolve, unfortunately, it will not support H.264 videos because it's not built into the operating system. However, you can pay for Blackmagic's paid version of DaVinci Resolve and you'll get H.264 support, but that means you still have to pay for it. So out of the box, for a lot of some video codecs, it might be a little bit more problematic than not.
Though this is definitely important with H.264, it should be mentioned that this is an overall problem with Linux. It's because operating system manufacturers essentially need to buy or lease the licensing for those different type of things. Even an MP3, for example, is a license that someone owns that you have to lease or buy the rights to use.
Wow. You guys are only about almost 2 years fucking late seeing how it's royalty free, you dumb motherfucker. Maybe you should open your eyes, close your mouth, and then engage your fucking brain. Because apparently there ain't nothing in there to fill. Wow. MP3 went royalty free back in 2017, you dumbasses. As far as H.264, there's this little lovely checkbox when you go to install Ubuntu that asks if you want to install multimedia codecs and all this other shit. Try clicking on it next time, you dumbasses. It'll kind of be there.
Obviously, Microsoft and Apple are spending the money and the time and the resources to make sure all that stuff's built into their operating system. Linux being open source and not always having a great company behind it that can support that type of structure, I'm sure it's expensive. No, those are problems you're going to see a lot, which definitely hinders your editing abilities.
It is unfortunate, but it is what it is. So, opinion time. Well, in terms of Windows, yes, you have some fantastic programs. Unfortunately, I struggle a little bit with the workflow in Windows in terms of video editing, mostly because I use Final Cut Pro X. However, with that said, on macOS, I absolutely love video editing. I have Final Cut Pro X, which is my main editor, and I can even use other editors that I sometimes occasionally use, such as Premiere Pro, as well as DaVinci. Linux, however, I have been trying to switch over to Linux for video editing, and it is a daunting task that is more difficult than not. Yes, there is DaVinci Resolve, but DaVinci Resolve doesn't always do everything I need it to do. Now, if Premiere Pro was on Linux, that would be a game changer. Then I could probably go and switch to Linux to some degree. But unfortunately, as of today, Linux is a long shot in terms of professional video editing. For basic, household video editing, you got some videos of your kids playing around or whatever, it might work out for you. Or you might run into file support problems.
Okay, for my opinion,
You're only going to run into file support problems if you don't know what the fuck you're doing with the operating system, which you too have repeatedly shown over and over and over and over and over and over again that you do. If you want to have a particular workflow and you're not willing to change it, that's fine. Go worship at the cult of Apple. Go pray to the bitten fruit on the back of the laptop. As far as the Windows stuff, there's plenty of editors out there. As far as the Linux commentary, just the fact that you don't even know that Lightworks exists shows how limited your knowledge in video editors are. So that's just my take, because you can do these great things like export audio from Lightworks into Reaper, throw it back into Lightworks. It's almost like they're trying to bundle and give you almost like kind of an Adobe workflow, because that basically would give you your Premiere Pro and your Adobe Edition. Just might want to think about that the next time you open your fucking mouth, you idiot.
here. Windows and Mac have a fair amount of video editors that you can use both on like the regular consumer average level and also to their professionals out there. So I think support in those areas is fine. However, here's my kind of opinion at the end of the day. If you're a professional or even a semi-professional making YouTube videos like this video here, it's kind of in the middle. You're not making a movie, but you're not making an iPhone video in portrait mode either. To me, I'm just more comfortable on macOS for whatever reason that is. The workflow just seems a little bit easier and more efficient to me, kind of what Eric was saying. I can't always go to Windows and have that great experience like I'm used to on macOS. And the thing is, it's not even necessarily the software. It's even with something like Premiere Pro, which is available on both Windows and Mac. I just have a better experience overall on Mac with that. I don't really know why that is. This just kind of goes hand in hand with some of the Windows issues that I've been having in the last few months, and probably just the state of Windows right now in 2018. However, with all that being said, it's usable at very least. Linux, on the other hand, in my opinion, just isn't usable for professional video editors at all. I think if you're a regular consumer and want to make your little, again, Timmy turned 5 and you want to film his birthday and edit it and send it to the grandparents, I think you can get away with that. But I think for the professional market, I think it would just be a lie to say that Linux is ready when it's just really not.
So now comes the time where we get to...
Is Linux ready for professional video editing? It all depends on what you're fucking doing. There are plenty of people who shoot better quality videos in 4K and do all their shit in Linux. Check out Tech Pills. Check out Das Geek. There are plenty of guys who do their shit and all their video editing in Linux, and it looks professional, if not better than your Mac-based editing here. That should tell you something. It can't be done. You're full of shit. And by the way, that in-between of consumer and professional is called prosumer. You guys are anywhere in that fucking range, and you sure shit ain't professional, because you guys are too dumb to actually do any research. You don't know basic editors. You don't know. You can't even keep the same criteria for how you gauge and rate operating systems across the board. Like the amount of dumb, it just astounds me. And I can't help but laugh because I think, what's the Linux thing? People like to fork things. I'd rather put a fork in my eye than actually have to, watch these videos, let alone listen to them. Because holy shit, I think that'd be more fun.
You rate video editors on all these operating systems. First off, built-in video editors on Windows. Movie Maker no longer exists. I'm giving it a 0. macOS, you do have iMovie, so that gets a 1. Linux, unfortunately, no video editor in Ubuntu, and it's so mixed across distros, so it's going to get a 0.
And as your little Timmy Turner moron on this side stated, oh, iMovie's not installed, but apparently it's built in. Fucking morons. God, the level of dumb just keeps going. I'm not sure if it's going up or down. I think my IQ goes down the more I watch the level of dumb go up.
Other video editors. Windows, there's a lot of good video editors out there. Professional and consumer, that gets a 1. macOS gets a 1 for iMovie, Final Cut Pro, yada yada yada. Other video editors on Linux. This is gonna be interesting. Because there are, on the consumer side of things, there are video editors, just not professional.
I think we give it the benefit of the doubt for
Just not professional. We only have Lightworks and DaVinci Resolve. Sorry, you have to learn a new workflow. My bad. I forgot. If your head's too impaled up Adobe or Apple's ass to actually adapt to something, that's on you, not the computer. That's not a tool problem. That's a you problem, or you being a tool, I guess, in this case.
the consumer market.
The consumer market for, Timmy Turn 5 video.
Overall, this series is about the consumers. The professionals have their workflow, know what they're doing.
That's true.
They're going to be on whatever platform works best for them. I think for the consumer, it gets a 1.
Gets a 1. Codecs, Windows gets a 1. macOS gets a 1. Linux, on the other hand, unfortunately, it gets a 0.
Now, hopefully that's something that improves over.
Linux gets a 0 because you guys are too fucking stupid to check a box that says install multimedia codecs. Again, my IQ keeps going down. The level of dumb, I'm running out of arm space at this point. I think it's somewhere in the stratosphere now. Holy shit. Again, this sounds a whole lot more like a you problem than anything else. So continue to blame the tool instead of pointing. Well, I guess in this case you can blame the tools. It'd just be you two.
Over time, I really hope it does. I think a big company with some substantial amount of money has to get behind Linux. And those Linux supporters out there, like, no, open source all the way, but these are the problems you have with open source. There are things that just need to have a large check signed and money given to in order to really compete.
No, 100%. So now to my opinion. Honestly, in my opinion, Windows, it's getting a 0. Ooh. I have, too many issues when using Windows in a video editing environment, whether it's performance or it's my overall workflow. macOS does get a 1 though for me, and Linux gets a 0.
Ooh. Okay, well, for my opinion, I think me and Eric agree on one thing here. Windows gets a big fat 0. Windows might have the choices, but the workflow is terrible. And because of Windows issues right now, it makes...
I get workflow. I totally understand workflow. But the fact of the matter is, as a user, you have to be willing to adapt. Sometimes the tool you're used to is not always available. So being a tool about your workflow, because your tool is not available, because you're being a tool, it doesn't matter. Sometimes you have to use what's in front of you to get a job done, and it doesn't matter what. Oh, I'm just not as efficient at it. While it's nice to be able to use what you're best at, sometimes that's not a fucking option. So if that means you have to use Premiere or Video Studio or any of these Power Director or any of these other kind of video editors, fucking learn them. yes, things aren't going to be exactly where you're used to finding them. That's kind of the point. So at the end of the day, a lot of this sounds to me like you guys have your head kind of impaled up the ass of Cult of Apple, and that's fine for your video editing. But do know, I still say there's better quality that I've seen from a bunch of Linux YouTubers that you say can't produce, prosumer level, YouTube quality level videos. I beg to fucking differ. Go watch Destination Linux. Go watch This Week in Linux. Among many others. Chicken. Go watch Tech Pills. There are a bunch of YouTubers that use Linux to do their content. There's an example. This is being recorded on Linux, you dumbasses, so it can be done. And it's quite easy.
Some things unusable. Like Premiere Pro was unusable when I was trying to edit with that on Windows. He saw it. It was just a weird situation. macOS has to get a 1 for me just because of the nature of it just works. I have very little issues with that. Now this is where the world is going to be surprised. Linux, I'm going to give a 1.
Whoa, well you're just changing things up here.
I know, and that's because though I did not have the best experience with DaVinci Resolve within Linux because of some, I think, driver issues and just general support issues, I will say I don't think it was a worse experience than I was with Premiere Pro and Windows. So in all fairness, it was, for me trying to make some videos in our semi-professional environment here, I think it deserves it. I think it is only going to get better. I think the codec issue, though it's an issue today, may not be an issue tomorrow. So overall, I think it deserves that 1.
All right, so total here, we have Windows with a 7, Mac OS with a 10, go Mac OS.
Yeah.
And Linux with a 7.
You know what I think is really interesting? And this is throughout all the videos so far, Linux is keeping up with what seems like a minimum Windows for the most part. So I'm glad that we see both an equal 7 with Windows and Linux. It really shows that Linux has improved a lot throughout the years.
100%. Anyway, guys, that is Windows versus Mac OS versus Linux. Guys, we'll be keeping you updated, and we'll tune in, I guess, next week.
See you guys later.
Peace.
Wow. See, and here's the thing. My problem isn't necessarily that they're doing these comparisons. I could care less. They're all opinion-based anyway. That's all they're ever going to be. That's all tech advice is. Anybody who tells you otherwise is opinion is just based on experience. That's all it is. What I'm saying, though, is when these guys say stuff that is just factually wrong, and god damn do they say a lot of stuff that is just factually fucking wrong. Like the codec thing. Because you're too stupid to click a box, that's on you, homie, not the OS. And I would say that if it was Mac or Windows or whatever. And FYI, Windows built-in codec support is fucking abysmal. You still have to download like K-Lite codecs or anything, something similar to that. That is fucking pathetic. So you can shove the codec thing. That's a load of crap. So as far as this video, they showed their knowledge by DaVinci Resolve. I love the fact that Resolve is available on Linux. I do, but they showed the fact that they don't even look at all the available options for professional. There's Linux on Linux. I mean, you have DaVinci Resolve, you have Lightworks. I'm sure there are others that I'm probably forgetting. It's just, it shows me that they don't research this stuff. And that bothers the shit out of me because this is ignorance feigning intelligence or knowledge. Because to me, this is more ignorance and it's willful because they don't actually research their shit. And that is a severe problem when you're giving advice. At least have an informed opinion. And these two are the biggest uninformed people who use tools to be tools because they don't know how to use the tools because their heads kind of impaled up the Cult of Apple's ass for video editors. And hey, I'm not going to fault someone for using Mac OS. If they find that it's better for them or Windows or whatever, I'm going to fault you for giving wrong information, which is due a plenty of. So You guys know what to do. Rate, subscribe. Peace.